Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 57 of the Samurai Brothers podcast. Matthew, and it's kind of a warm day down here in Southern California, and I'm not sure how it is up there.
It's a nicer. It's kind of on the nicer side right now.
Well, that's good.
I mean,
So with that being said,
we
though,
might we might as well enjoy it considering that here in the valley you either have hot weather, cold weather, and you have a small in between of spring or summer. There's a lot more. There's an actual spring and summer season in Southern California, obviously.
yep, yep. So that being said, so One Piece decided to cancel their release this week. So
Oh,
in
they
order to
canceled it. That's what happened.
Yeah, they canceled it. I guess Oda was feeling not too well. So when I know that he's normally 5 chapters, around 4 or 5 chapters ahead. So like if he can't make the next chapter on time, then they will cancel the release so that it allows him to catch up on his side. My understanding. Anyway, but that being
Well,
said, though,
and my understanding is he does like a very stringent. The reason why he's had a lot of health scares is he has this like very stringent work schedule and like overexerts himself. Has very little. I don't know how he's gone as long as he had. He gets like very little sleep on the average.
yeah, on average like 3 hours of sleep a night or something like
I
that.
don't know how. I don't know how he can do that. I'm surprised that he hasn't had more health issues. Honestly.
Yeah, honestly, right. Well, with that being said, though, there's still plenty of things for us to be able to talk about this week.
Mainly sports
So
related.
yeah, it's all pretty much sports related for today. Although not really talking about the NFL because there's plenty of plenty of channels out there to talk about the NFL and stuff like that. But with that being said, at the end of this episode today, we will talk about a very special game that we found happened yesterday in college football. So we'll be talking about that later. But Matthew, let's talk first about the fact that wrestling season is upon us. High school is officially not started yet, and then college, at least at the 4 year level, will also start. But as of right now, 3C2A, which is the California Community College Athletic Association, that wrestling season, they operate as a fall season instead of winter. So they are currently in season right now. And we've already had a few events going on. Major tournaments that have happened so far was the Sacramento City Open, the Lemoore College Invitational, and the Santa Ana College Invitational, among a number of, you'll see duels and other events going on. But the main big tournament, which was the Lemoore College Invitational, took place on the 27th of September. And people call it the precursor to the state tournament because pretty much everyone, close to everyone, shows up for that tournament within all the school programs in the state. Normally show up to that event. And I think it's everyone is able to go to that one because Lemoore, California, is a very central point within the state of California, obviously being in the Central Valley. So pretty much that's a tournament everyone can go to. And this time around, there were 22 schools in attendance, which, that is for college wrestling, that can be quite a big event. Matthew, I'm not sure, in your time wrestling, what was the average size you think that you saw for a tournament?
Not 22.
So it would have been smaller or bigger?
It would have been smaller than that. I'm surprised that well then again, we always went to open tournaments. Well,
Yeah.
with a few exceptions, but we mostly went to open tournaments. So there might have been less, but there were didn't you say that there were some brackets that were like 32-man brackets at
There
the
was a lot of the brackets at that tournament was 64. And they were allowing, max two per weight class. And when you talk about two times, max 22, you could be looking at 44. So yeah, that is a big bracket, 48-man bracket, so to speak.
Well, and obviously it's going to be a lot bigger in the middleweight area because I think the average American man falls into that middle range. Yeah. So those were probably the larger brackets because it's similar in MMA where the middle weight range is the most
right.
It's definitely the most bloated in the UFC. So it's that's kind of where and I'm surprised that there are I'm getting off on a tangent, never mind. But yeah, so it in college wrestling, I think that's where the most weight classes are, is
it's like goes from like I think 141, 149 to I think like 184, it gets pretty, I mean, a lot of the weights, they're separated only by about 8-10 pounds, basically.
Yeah, that's the separation typically.
Yeah.
With the exception of 197.
Yeah, 197, then it's like, 13 pounds, and then it's like 285 is the heavyweight division. And actually, something I saw, which, maybe, I don't know if they're trying to maybe push for this, but at the Sacramento City tournament, they actually had a 220 weight class, which, wouldn't be an official weight class, but, I thought it interesting that they had that division.
Well, whoever does whoever does any kind of a tournament, they can do things however much they want.
Yeah.
And in the NCAA, there's an 11th weight class. It's more like 235 is my recollection. So the concept of a weight class in between that is not unheard of in American college wrestling.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, I think we have a precursor now with the the results out. The Sac City tournament, Lemoore tournament, and then the Santa Ana College Invitational was last night.
I'm assuming the Sac City tournament is that way in order for like Menlo and Simpson to like get their guys.
I checked the results, and it looks like that it was only northern schools within the 3C2A. So Menlo was not in attendance, and I don't know if that has to do with
maybe seasonal restrictions.
Yeah, there might be some seasonal restrictions in place. Obviously when the Menlo Open comes up, there are teams that go 3C2A teams do go to that. Just not everyone.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to my recollection, when the 4-year colleges start doing opens, which are more earlier in their season, but later in the 3C2A season, 3C2A guys start going to those tournaments.
Although one thing I do have to say is that I think a lot of the wrestlers that do go to the open tournaments hosted by the 4 years are not necessarily the A-team guys.
Really?
What I've seen from some of these, the powerhouse schools in California right now, a lot of them, I think they've caught on to the Penn State formula. And so they'll rest their A-team guys, so as not to overexert them as much. So they won't send them to every tournament. In fact,
is that what Penn State does?
Well, I mean, I remember watching Penn State's or looking at Penn State's schedule from like a couple of years ago. They only went to like, I think 2 major tournaments all year. And then the rest of it was all duels. And, obviously with the duels, it's like they're dueling almost everyone in the Big Ten. And that was a few years ago.
Is that why they also have an NCAA team?
Maybe.
To get their other guys more matches in.
That's a possibility too. So with that being said, though, let me go into results really quick. So the Sacramento City tournament was obviously won by Fresno City, who is the top team in the North, always have been and always probably will be until
Esau retires.
Yeah, very resourceful guy, I have to say.
Yeah, and he clearly has a gift with recruiting
Mhm.
because well, he also is sitting on
Yeah,
what I refer to as the snake pit
that's
of
prime recruiting ground.
of Buchanan and Clovis. Clovis West is the other powerhouse, right? At present. I think
think
almost all of those Clovis schools have won at least one championship before. Like Clovis High School is also a good school.
Yeah, I can't remember which of the. I thought it was Clovis North that was the dominant school, but maybe it's Clovis West. I can't remember.
I think all those Clovis schools have won at least one state championship.
Yeah.
And who's been the dominant one has ranged. Right now it's Buchanan.
Yeah, because Buchanan's totally different from the Clovis.
I thought it's in the school district.
Well, I would not be surprised by that, but it's like you've got those 4 Clovis schools plus Buchanan, all in the city of Clovis, obviously. So, but then the Lemoore tournament was also won by Fresno. Second place was Cerritos, I believe. Although I can't look it up now. Actually, maybe I can look up their blog. But yes, Fresno again. So they won the big one. So that right there is an indication of what the precursor to what the state tournament could.
Well, it also helps that Fresno's literally right there. Right. I don't know if they booked hotels in town or if they just
well, yeah, because they're only like a 45-minute drive from Lemoore, right?
Yeah, that's like I mean that's a bit further than Cerritos to Santa Ana, but it's like a similar commute, so I wouldn't expect
Yeah, but you know what though, where I have to disagree with you on that one is that there's a lot more open road and a lot less traffic up in your area compared to down here.
Oh yeah, true. Cause yeah, it's extremely rare to. Well, actually, I have run into traffic jams, but there's one of two reasons for that. It's either an accident or you're going in or out of Fresno.
Mm-hmm.
And Fresno's essentially the size of a Orange County city. So you got that many people going in and out. You're going to have some issues as wide as the roads are out here.
So yeah, Fresno City took first, Mount San Antonio took second, and then Cerritos College took third. And then rounding out the top 5, Sacramento City and Victor Valley, who has a new coach this year. Coach Humphrey retired from his position, although he is on staff as an assistant. But with that being,
when Dan and I were at the Lemoore tournament, we were talking about how if I'd not gotten a scholarship offer to wrestle back east, we're talking about the possibility of my wrestling, at a JC, and 2 of the colleges that came to mind if I had not wrestled at SAC, because at the time SAC
was very competitive.
Yes, it was very competitive. So if I'd wanted to actually get varsity mat time, some of the thinner colleges were either Mount Sac or Victorville. Obviously, Victorville was going to be a little bit of a commute, but I think Grandma at the time was a little bit more self-sufficient. So I had thought about, do I want to ask Grandma if I can stay with her? Obviously, it's changed quite a bit since then. But of course, Mount Sac was who's the coach there?
Now it's David Rivera.
Well, whoever the previous guy was who turned it around.
The previous coach was Coach Watanabe. Yeah.
Yeah. So the guy, it was a little bit thinner there at the time and not as competitive. So my thought was, if I want to get, actual varsity experience, then Mount Sac would have been the place. But
Yep.
I got the scholarship at MOBAP, and things went from there.
That's that. So then last night, the Santa Ana College Invitational, we had Cerritos actually take the title there. Mount Sac took second, and then Palomar took third. This was their first full competition for the season because, driving from San Diego to Lemoore is quite a ways.
Yes.
But with that being said, though, again, this is what I found out. Mount Sac, even at the Lemoore tournament, there were a number of their guys returning, starters from the previous year. They were not in attendance at the Lemoore tournament. And then here's the other thing was their team that they brought yesterday, none of their guys who won their weight classes at the Lemoore tournament were in attendance yesterday. So
are they doing something similar to resting their guys up?
I believe so. And, that's kind of been one of the ways that they've, maintained success. But then, you think about it, it's like it majority of their B teamers plus their, not as great A teamers taking second or, at our tournament last night, taking second at, the Lemoore tournament. You never know. I mean, with this kind of strategy, I don't blame Coach Rivera for taking that route at all, because hey, it sounds like he's following the Kale model.
I wonder if when Kale was wrestling at Iowa State, if Bobby Douglas was following a similar strategy. And
yeah, but Kale went, we know what his record was. It was what was it? Wasn't it 100 and was it 119 or was it 100 and something else?
Let's see. He went 40-0 his sophomore, junior, seniors, 39-0 his freshman year.
119-0. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
to be fair to him, he did actually redshirt his first year.
Yes, that's true.
And then that's after that it was when he went on his dominant run. Again, isn't he to date still the only one who went? Because we've had plenty of 4-time champions. Well, not plenty. We've had a bunch of 4-time champions, and of course, a 5-time champion since then. But isn't he the only one who's still who?
He's the only one who's undefeated.
Yeah, only one who's still undefeated.
Which is why, no offense to Carter Starachi, but I would definitely rank Kale as, when it comes to that, he's still the GOAT.
Yeah, he's still the GOAT. And, we talk about, other, we also talk about Carlton Hasselrick and who's the guy who was technically a 7-time because at the time NCAA.
Yeah, I forget. I forget off the top of my head.
Yeah, that guy as well. But the reality is none of those guys were undefeated.
Yeah, in their college.
Carlton Hasselrick didn't even win a national championship his freshman year.
Although, I would definitely rank Carlton Hasselrick up in top 10 easy if you want to talk about.
I mean, the only other person. Well, and then on top of that, Dan Gable didn't even. Back then he only had 3 eligibility years, so he didn't wrestle his freshman year. But his senior year, he lost in the final. There's only been one other person who had a comparable run, and that was Dan Hodge.
Yeah,
the man for the namesake of the Hodge Trophy.
Yep.
So,
well, with that being said, Yeah, actually, it was 159-0. So he went 37-0 his first year. Then he went 43-0 his second year. Then he went 41-0. And then he went 38-0. So I thought he had the same record for 3 of those years, but I guess not. But anyway, with that being said, though,
I thought I saw a statistic that
yeah. With that being said, but yeah, so I think it'll be interesting. It looks like those Cerritos kind of had an off year last year because they didn't place top 3. Palomar finished 3rd at the state championships, I believe. But with that being said, though, again, looks like the top competitors: Fresno, Mount Sac, Cerritos. Sac State kind of tries, get in the Sac City tries to get in the running. Who knows what's going to happen with this? But next major event in the 3C2A season, they have one tournament up north, which is the Modesto tournament. And I think that, of course, obviously we know where Modesto is. That's a lot closer to you. I think that's about 2 hours away, I believe. And then
yeah, something like that.
But then the next major event, which will take place in both the North and the South, is the regional dual tournament, and that determines who is going to represent both the North and the South for the state dual championship. So we'll have to see how that goes, and that'll be on our episode. The results of that will be on our episode in 2 weeks.
I just remember Penn State doesn't. I don't think Penn State partakes in the national duels.
I don't think so either. And as I recall, Matthew, I think Midland is considered the major college tournament.
Yeah, it's the most challenging tournament after the and another thing with that cap rule, I don't know how they're gonna do that tournament anymore.
Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe the NCAA will maybe up the cap to 7. Because I think 6 is the cap in high school also for a day.
It was 5 in when I was wrestling, unless
it was 5, but now it's 6.
Okay,
it's 6 for one day, and if it's a 2-day tournament, it's 10 total. So
I remember there being a few tournaments where I'd wrestle that limit.
Yeah, see, like I'm looking at what's their names? Penn State's schedule. So their first dual event is against Oklahoma in November at home. There is a Black Knight Invitational at West Point in November.
Well, now you know why it's called the Black Knights.
Yeah. Black Knight Invitational. Then they'll have 3 duels. Then they'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then it's all just duels. They go to one tournament. They go to one tournament, and then there's how many duels are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 14 duels after the Black Knight Invitation. So they'll duel 15 times, though. I mean, I wouldn't say that that's an easy schedule.
So if you're looking to get a whole bunch of wrestling time in terms of tournaments, that's Penn State is not the place to go. If you're looking to win a national championship, the likelihood is you want to go to Penn State, at least presently.
Yeah, because then they'll have Big Ten championships, which will which will be hosted at Penn State. Surprise, surprise. And then they'll go to Cleveland, Ohio for the national championship. You know what I would say, though? Maybe if we can like find a way to raise up money, though, we should go watch the national championships, because I know you got to do that while you were at Mobap. But I think it would be
but again, I was at Mobap. I was in St. Louis. St. Louis is one of those rotating spots because typically they want the national championships to be in the either the heartland or in areas where wrestling is more popular. That's either the heartland or back east. Well, I mean, let's face it, wrestling was never big out here.
Well, again, I think it would be fun to go watch one day, and we can.
I know that a lot of the wrestling coaches go semi-regularly.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, though, we'll have to see how 3C2A goes, into the rest of the season, and we'll be keeping everyone updated on that. Now, I have a bone to pick with a certain website, a certain organization, because up until, previously, even within the last week, things, the old saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? FloWrestling, man, I just do not like FloWrestling. And so to go on my little rant here, when I was trying to look up for people for trying to do like seeding for the Santa Ana tournament, and one of the obstacles I ran into was that, couldn't get it done on time just for a variety of reasons. But one of the things that didn't help was the fact that, as we all know, FloWrestling bought Track Wrestling some time back. And just last week, and I don't even know if I saw any announcements about it or anything, they decided to merge their bracketing and stuff onto Flow, so that everything that's on Track Wrestling, if you try to enter an event, it automatically redirects you to FloWrestling. And I've never liked the way that FloWrestling's brackets, show up. And then on top of that, if you try to look at the event itself, you can't see, you can see individual results from each team, but you can't see the scores of the, what teams finished where. So you don't know who won. So obviously I was not happy when I was finding this out, on a Thursday night, trying to do seeding for the Santa Ana tournament. And so what I have to say about that is, Flow, you need to do some major fixing of stuff, because this is not tenable. Matthew, I know that you've not been a big user that much of either Flow. Have you looked up stuff though on Track?
I have, yeah. Flow makes certain things free, and I have used that when I was looking up stuff just for the sake of looking up stuff. But yeah, I've also used Track before, and yeah, the reality is this is what happens when corporate.
Yep.
This is what happens when corporate America leeches its arms into its tentacles into things. It takes it over and it ruins stuff for people, for the average person.
Yep. Well,
but unfortunately, it's one of those things where it's the certain things just aren't like the fact that we have unique brands like Matman is kind of a miracle in and of itself. There's just certain sport specific brands, we've talked about, to be fair, I was going to bring up Real Pro Wrestling as something that failed, but there was some other issues going on in the background with that. So it wasn't just that. And then there's been other kind of pro wrestling leagues that have come and gone as well. And now we have the Real American Freestyle, which was
to start things off.
Yeah, which to be fair is still going. So there's it's hard to get something and keep it going in the wrestling community, because the reality is there's just so much money. There's only so much money in it. And let's face it, there was a point where our sport was in danger of getting cut from the Olympics, despite the fact that it's been an Olympic sport since the beginning.
Yeah. So with that being said, though, I'm gonna have to cut this conversation short because we have to get in the last one because our timer is now running. But yeah,
So long story short, it's unfortunately it is what it is. Yeah. When it like with Flow Sports, who knows if they're actually making money off of the wrestling part, but it's part of this giant.
Yep.
I mean, maybe the fact that they're making lots of money from all the other sports maybe makes it to where they're actually making money with the rest of with the wrestling part, because the overhead is already being sustained. So
well, now let's we got 6 minutes, so let's talk about the upset of the season for college football. UCLA upsets Penn State in football. 0-4 UCLA because they had just fired their head coach, and I guess it was Jerry Neuheisel, the son of Rick Neuheisel, who led the program yesterday in that historic upset. First time that a Penn State first top 10 team to lose to an 0-4 team in over 40 years, apparently, according to the stat. Matthew, take it away. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is a very it's one of those things where upsets are a lot more shocking in college football, because because in upsets in the NFL aren't as dramatic because there's more talent, there's more coaches, so anything can happen on any given Sunday. But when it comes to college football, it's more dramatic because there's more of a talent gap. Penn State, with as much talent, 2 or 3 deep, as the amount of talent on that bench, should not have even made it a close game.
Mm-hmm.
They should have just destroyed 0-4 UCLA. And yet somehow Jerry Neuheisel was able to pull an upset out of his butt to get this upset. And here's another thing. I was never sold on, I forget who the previous guy was, but so here was my issue. He was untested. He was in the system, but he was the quarterback's coach.
Yeah.
So when they promoted him straight from quarterbacks to head coach, I was thinking, what are you doing? And the proof is in the pudding, because they had so now, granted, they were transitioning into the Big Ten.
The Big Ten, yeah, that's a huge transition.
But at the same time, it's one of those things where you want the most qualified person, and I just was not sold from the beginning. I was just thinking, what are you doing? This guy's unproven. He needs to at least spend at least one season as an offensive coordinator. Like, he needs some kind of track record. He had nothing. Quarterbacks it's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I would never promote a quarterbacks coach to. It's like he has to go through. Someone has to be an offensive or defensive coordinator first. If they're an assistant coach, in my qualifications, if I ever become an athletic director of like a D1 college, they need some actual qualified experience. Quarterback coach is not a qualified position. And they paid for it. So
yeah, you're talking about Deshaun Foster, right?
Yeah, Deshaun Foster. So, but then you had this miracles. Let's see, what was Jerry before he was the
Well, see, because they don't even have the wiki updated yet for what Jerry did. But I'll look it up really quick because we are running a little bit short on time here.
He was the offensive coordinator before he was the.
See, so he knows what's going on then, right? So he did have assistant HC for tight ends. It looks like. But yeah, so this is he was the tight ends coach, and now he's the interim head coach. But here's the thing. In closing,
before that he was the Foster. The offensive coordinator left too, so he was the interim offensive coordinator before he was the head coach.
One thing I do have to point out, though, because, I mean, the way that UCLA did this, though, so I have to kind of disagree with you how, Jerry just pulled it out. Because I had it so that my phone was giving me updates on the game. UCLA was leading the game the whole way, if memory serves me correct.
Tim Skipper's the interim offensive coordinator.
So with that being said, though, I'm just wow. This was such an
interesting game. They have all their coaches are defense interim because the defensive coordinator left too.
So this should be really interesting to see how this goes during this season.
They pulled off a big upset with 3 interim coaches. So let's see what else these interim guys can do.
Well, with that being said,
find these guys. Were these guys all in lower positions before they got promoted?
I don't know. We're gonna find out, because with that being said, Matthew, we're gonna have to close out this episode. So I want to thank everyone for watching again, and we'll be following UCLA how they go down this season. So until then, everyone, take care.